Hello everyone, you're welcome to today's class. So in this class, I want to solve some questions that will serve as revision for your forthcoming exams. So I'll start with the first one, and that has to do with standard form. So the first question here is on standard form that I've said earlier on. So express the following in standard form. So we have the first one to be 5,234, while the second one is 0.0674. So standard form simply means you have to express it in this form: a multiplied by 10 raised to power what? N, where this a stands for numbers between 1 and what? 9. So that is, you must have a single digit before the decimal point. This is, you must have something like 1 to 9 point something, so before the decimal point, then multiply by 10, while this n is either negative or positive integer. So let's look at the first question. So the first one, which is 5,234. So we can as well write it to be 5,234.0. So I just want to teach the shortcut. So we're moving this decimal point. So if the question you ask yourself, where will I move this decimal point that I will have a single digit before decimal point? So it is this 5. So between 5 and 2, that means we're going to have 5.234. So we have moved it how many times? 1, 2, 3. So multiply by what? 10. The number of times we moved it will be our power, the n. That is saying, I said 8 times 10 raised by what? N. So the n will be the number of times we moved it. So because the initial question is a whole number, it's not a decimal as you have it here. It's not less than 1 rather. So you can see this one is more than 1. So this will be positive. Move 3 times. For the case of this, which is 0.0674. Now, so we are moving these decimal points to the place here between 6 and 7. So we have 1 to what? 9 single digits before the decimal point. So we move it 1, 2. So we then have 6.74 multiplied by what? 10 raised to power. So we moved it how many times? 2 times. But here, because this number here is less than 1, so this will be what? Negative. I hope this is very clear to you. So that is that on standard form. This could be whole number or what? Decimal. But sometimes the question might ask you to change the standard form to ordinary form. So it's possible. For example, if I want to change this, the first one here, to ordinary form, what will I do? So it means 5.234 times 10 raised by 3 means 3 zeros. That is 1,000. We are multiplying this by 1,000. So when you multiply by 1,000, when you multiply a number by power of 3, you count 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. So that gives you 5, 2, 3, what? 4. So then when you come to this one, so because it is 6.74 times 10 raised by minus 2, this is negative. We are moving what? To the right here. So you are dividing by, that means you have 6.74 times 10 raised by minus 2, which means 6.74 times 1 all over 10 raised by what? 2. So which means you are dividing by power of what? 10, which is 2. So you count 2 to the back. So that means you move 6.74, 1, 2. Put decimal point 0, and I put 0. So that means to be 0.067. So we've come back to what? The question. So that is that on standard form. All right, this is another question, which is on percentage profits or loss. So let's look at this. A trader bought an item for 40,000 naira and sold it for 34,000 naira. What was the percentage profit or loss? So the first thing you need to determine, what is the profit or loss? So if you buy something for 40,000 naira and you sell it for 34,000 naira, have you made a profit or loss? So that is a loss because the selling price is less than the cost price. So in this case, the cost price is greater than the selling price. Therefore, I have loss. So that is When the cost price is less than the selling price, then you make a profit. So that's the first thing you need to determine. So after this, so you then need to determine the loss. So since we are dealing with the loss, so loss is the cost price minus the selling price. So in this case, the cost price, which is 40,000 naira, right, minus 34,000 naira. So that gives, so you have made a loss of 6,000 naira. So that the trader has made a loss of 6,000 naira. So what will now be the loss percentage? So loss percentage is the loss divided by the cost price multiplied by what? 100 over 1. So if it is profit percentage, so you just change this to what? Profit divided by the cost price. As you know, the profit is selling price minus the cost price. So in this case, we're going to have loss, which is 6,000 naira, divided by the cost price, which is what? 40,000 naira, multiplied by 100. So this 0 cancels this 0, 0 cancels 0, 2 here 2, 2 here 3, 2 here 1, 2 here what? 5. So 3 times 5 gives what? 15 what? Percent. So that is the loss percent. So that is that on loss percentage. But in the case where you ask to find profit percentage, so it will be profit percent will be profit divided by the cost price multiplied by 100 over 1. So that is how to, this is the formula you're going to use to do that. So I think I've explained everything. All right, this is another question, and this question is on simple interest. So the question asks us to find total amount, and we're given a principal of 60,000 naira. That is our P. And then the number of years given, which the time is 3 years, and the rate is 7.5%. So the question asks us to find the amount, and the amount here in this case is asking us to add the principal plus the simple interest. So we are not asked to find the simple interest here. We are finding total amount, and that is principal plus the interest. So for 3 years, so the next thing to do is for us to calculate the simple interest before we add the principal to it. So what is the simple interest? That is the formula PRT divided by 100. That is the amount here, principal plus interest. So we have the interest will be equal to, the principal here is 60,000 naira multiplied by the rate, which is 7.5, which we can as well write it to be what? 15 over 2. That is 7 times 2 plus 1. That gives 15 over 2. So instead of 7.5, we will write 15 over 2 multiply by the time, which is 3 years, divided by what? 100. Then we multiply by the 2 we have at the denominator. So we can then do 0, cancel 2 zeros here. 2 here 1, 2 here 3. That is 300. Then we then have 300 times 15 times 3 here gives us 45. Then multiply by the 3 beside the 100. That gives us 135. That is 13,500. That is the principal. That is the interest rather here. So that is not the end. So we will need to find the amount, which is the principal plus the interest. So the principal here is what? 60,000 naira, right? Plus the interest we just calculated, which is 13,500 naira. So that gives us 73,500 naira, which serves as our the amount we are going to return to the bank at the end of the 3 years we have spent, we have collected the money from them. So, but majority of you stopped at the simple interest. If you stop at the simple interest there, you will not get the full answer if it is theory. But if it is objective, you lose the whole mark. All right, this question is on factorization, as you can see on the board. So this one has to do with to factorize 16x squared minus 1. So this is what we call difference of two squares, because the one squared is also will give us the same answer as what 1. So we can write this to be 16x squared minus 1 equals to 16x squared minus 1 squared. Still the same thing. So the 16 we can, since it's perfect square, we can take it to 4 square, x squared minus 1 squared. So that means we group the two, 4x everything squared minus 1 squared. That gives us difference of two squares. So because of that, so the rule is that a squared minus b squared, which will give us a plus b into what? A minus b. So let's now apply this to this question now. So 4x be our a, that will be 4x plus 1, then 4x minus 1, because 1 is our what? B. So that is that on this. But if you are given this type of question again, 25x squared minus 4. So 25 is a perfect square, 4 is also a perfect square. That's 5 squared, 5 squared, x squared. So okay, let's group it, 5x, everything squared, then 2 squared. So 5x is our a, that will be 5x, that will be plus b, which is 2, into bracket 5x minus 2. So that is that on this. So this is how the question can come on difference of two squares. So you should be able to solve this now. All right, this question is on inequalities, and we have to solve 8 minus 3h greater than 41 and represent your answer on a number line. So how do we solve this? So the same way we solve simple equations is the same way we're going to solve this as well. So let's look at it now. So we have 8 minus 3h greater than 41. Right, 41 here. Good. So what we're going to do now is to make sure that the, the value we are looking for, the variable we are looking for is on the left hand side of the inequality, right? So which means we're going to take 8 to the other side to make 41, right? So that would be minus 3h greater than 41 minus what? 8. So because we are subtracting minus 8 from both sides, that would be minus 3h greater than 33. Now we're going to divide both sides by what? Minus 3, right? So now here, anytime you divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, so what is going to happen to it is that this symbol will change and it will become what? Less than. So instead of 3, so that will be h less than minus 11. So I hope that is clear. So we now have to now present it on a number line is the next thing. So how do we do that? So we have minus 11 is the number, so we write it on it. So it's not necessary for you to write everything. So we have minus 11, the rest will be, this one will be minus 10, minus 9, and so on and so forth. This one will be what? Minus 12, minus what? 13. So we are looking at the numbers that are less than minus 11. So, and starting from what? Minus what? Minus 12. So if you look at the arrow is pointing, the bottom of the arrow is pointing to this side. So which means this line will go to this side, and the arrow line will also look like that of the less than. That's why you can see there. So we have h at that place. Is that clear? So if we now have another way, let's say h greater than minus 11. So what will happen is this. So the same thing. So minus 11 here. Then that means this to go to this side, right? So because the arrow is pointing to the right, so which is what? And the arrow is also looking at the same way. So we have h, another question, greater than equals to minus 11. So at this point, so we're saying that the h is also equals to 11 the same way. Then because there is equals to here, we are going to shade this circle. We shade the circle. So that's the difference between these two and the other one. So what that implies is this. So let's explain the interpretation. If you look at this, h less than minus 11 means that we are looking for the values of x, all the numbers that are less than minus 11. And where are they? They are all the numbers below minus, which is starting from minus 12 here, downward, minus 13, minus 14, and so forth. Then in the other one, h greater than minus 11, all the numbers that are greater than minus 11, starting from minus 10 upward. But the third one, which is h greater than minus 11, is telling us that h is included in the value. The minus 11 is included in the value of h, and all other numbers that are greater than minus what 11 are the values of what h in this case. All right, so this question is on simultaneous equations. We asked to find the, so let's start with this. Y, the first equation is y equals to 5x plus 2, which is that's equation 1, x plus 2y equals to 15, equation what 2. So that's equation 2. Now here, if you look at this question very well, you notice that in the equation 1, y has already been made the subject of the formula. And if you look at equation 2, that one is properly structured. So what you're going to look at is that we have three methods of solving simultaneous equation, as you all know. One is elimination method, substitution method, and the graphical method. So the three methods, if you look at this, substitution method will be applicable here because y has been made the subject of formula here. But if you want to make use of elimination method, you can still use it, but you have to go through some process whereby you multiply, depend on the variable you want to use to make the subject of formula, right? So or you want to eliminate rather. So like for the case of this on x, the both coefficients of x in both variables are not the same, and the same thing with y. So in this question, the best method to use is to use a substitution method, because y has been made the subject of what the formula. So that is why we cannot use any other method. We can use other methods, right? As I've said it earlier on, but the best method to use here is a substitution method. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to y, we just substitute this equation 1 into equation 2, because y is known already. It will be 5x plus 2. That's wherever we see y, we put the value of 5x plus 2. So that means x plus 2 into bracket y. Y there, we not write y, we then write 5x plus 2. That has replaced the value of y, equals to what? 15. Then we open the bracket, then simplify. That is 10x plus 4 equals 15. So we collect like terms here. So that is 11x equals 15 minus 4. So that gives 11x equals 11. So we divide both sides by 11. That gives x is equal to what? 1. So the next is to now substitute the value of x into equation 1. Equation 1 to get the value of what? Y, because y is already the subject of formula. So now substitute x equals to 1 into equation 1. So that means we're going to have y equals 5. Instead of us to put x there, we put the value of x, which is 1 plus 2. So that gives y equals to what? 5 plus 2, which is equal to what? 7. So right, this question is on trigonometric what? Ratio. So we're asked to find the value of x here. So, and if you look at this diagram, this is a right angle triangle, because it has a right angle here. So because of that, the first thing we need to do is to find the sides. So this side facing the hypotenuse is what? Hypotenuse that is facing the right angle. while this is opposite and this is adjacent. So this is opposite because it's facing the angle given, which is 48 degrees, and the side facing the right angle is what? Hypotenuse, while the third one is the adjacent. So the next stage now is for us to now determine which of the formula to use. So car or what? Toi. So which of them are we going to use? So before we look at that, so we need to look at what are we given. We're looking for x, and we're given 7. So that means we are looking for opposites, and we are given hypotenuse. That means you're going to make use of what? So, as that is sine 48 degrees equals the opposite, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is what? 7 centimeters. So from here we can find, we divide both sides by 1, this one by 1 rather, sorry. So that means x equals to 7 times sine 48 degrees. So that means 7 times sine 48 degrees. Using calculator, we have this. So that means 7 times 0.7431. So when we multiply the two together as well, that will be 7 times 0.7431. That will give us 5. All right, that gives us 5.2017. So now it depends on the question. If the question asks to express it to 1 dp, 2 dp, or 3 dp. So to 1 dp we have that we stop at 2. We look at the next digit, which is 0. If it is number that is above 5 and above, we add 1 to 2. But if it is less than 5, we add nothing to 2. So if it is 2 dp, we stop at 0. Then the next digit, which is 1, is less than uh 5 again. But in this case, let's stop at 2 dp. So that gives us 5.20. That's the answer. Okay, let's take a quick recap of this SOCATRA. So if we want to apply it for others too, so what the rule is that you look at what you are given and what you are looking for. So the case of this one, we are given the hypotenuse and we have the opposite. So that is why we are using the uh, so. But in the case of car, so that means one of either the adjacent or hypotenuse must be given. So if it is toi, either opposite or adjacent must also be what? Be given before we can use what? Toi as well too. So in that case, so let's assuming that we're given adjacent to be 10 and the hypotenuse to be y. So that will be going to use cos, well, that's cos 48 degrees here equals the adjacent, which is 10. And you can see that the unknown is at the denominator here, but in the case of the first one, it is on the numerator, which is x over 7. So some of you are very funny. You be, because the example we did is x is at the top, so you now put your y at the top again. No, so apply it strictly to the formula as you have it there. So that means you're going to have 10 over what? Y. That we cross multiply here, we have y cos 48 degree equals to 10 equals to y equals to 10 over cos 48 degrees. So we then find the value of cos 48 degrees, then we divide it by what? 10 to get the value of our y. So that's just an example. It's not part of the question, just need to explain. Hope that is very clear to you now. So that's on this. So that's the end of this video. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, so kindly subscribe and like, send it to your friends